Okay, so today I was pretty happy trying to get a document together that I was asked to prepare by the trustee. And so I was happy that I was putting that together, and I was taking my time to come up with some good solutions to some of the problems that have been in the past, make things better. So anyhow, I notified my attorney Ruth that if I could have tomorrow's by the way, today's October 18th, 2018. Tomorrow, the 19th, is supposed to be another interrogatory where Mr. Norman Garcia wants to ask me even more and more questions. I don't know how many interrogatories I've had, but I don't know, it seems like 4 or 5 for hours and hours and hours, where he asks the same question over and over and over again. And I have been truthful in everything that I've said. He's constantly trying to find something that I'm hiding or something. And meanwhile, on their end, the things aren't all copacetic. So I was gonna completely forget this project that I had, but this unpleasant situation with him just said, you know what, this really needs to be done. So anyhow, I want to do this. This is about, they keep mentioning intimidation. They being the Department of Labor. Notice I say everything specifically. I don't make broad generalizations like they do. They say, well, Frank Montero, intimidation, and Frank Montero, retaliation, and broad generalities. Don't say specifics, don't say a time, don't say when. And that's the hallmark of, truthfully, they're a hallmark of liars. That's what, since they're just making up stuff, they just make broad generalizations. I don't. I go straight to the point. So here what we have is, first I want to go over something called the Guide to Judiciary Policy, Volume 2, Ethics and Judicial Conduct. Code of Conduct for United States Judges, okay? Canon 1, a judge should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary. Canon 2, a judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all activities. Canon 3, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but just 1 through 3. A judge should perform the duties of the office fairly, impartially, and diligently. Now, I want to focus on canon number 3, because what I am about to present here to the public, and this is all public information, is not conjecture or not anything that I've made up. It's not commentary. It's not anything. This is the words of the court. This is straight off the court proceedings, completely. In fact, the actual court proceedings are the ones that are being placed on here. So, here we go. Alexander Acosta Plaintiff versus TLC Residentials. Okay, keep in mind, Canon 2. Judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all activities. Respect for the law. Judge should respect and comply with the law and should act at all times in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. And an appearance of impropriety occurs when reasonable minds with knowledge of relevant circumstances disclosed by a reasonable inquiry would conclude that the judge's honesty or integrity, impartiality, and temperament are whether or not they're fit for the bench, or the judge should be impaired. So public confidence depends on this. Public confidence depends on the fact whether a reasonable mind would conclude that the judge's actions and whatnot include integrity, impartiality, and the temperament to be okay, and he is not impaired. And here he says clearly, all right, Mr. Montero. First, Mr. Montero, you live in the fanciest apartment house in San Francisco, and you drive a Tesla. You are at great risk of losing your Tesla. That will be the first item to go. The next item to go will be your interest in the tower, the apartment in the tower. Okay, so do we see anything that might seem like he might be a little, not totally impartial. You're at great risk of losing your testimony. So he goes. Now you see these marshals here? There was 5 U.S. marshals in the courtroom, folks. 5. You know, I'm a little 5'7" guy. Way over 50 years old. Never been in a barroom fight in my life. Never in my life put a finger on anybody. Never even been accused of anything violent. However, here's the judge's words. You see these marshals here? I asked them to come here today so that they can recognize you, because if you don't show up, they will come to the Millennium Towers and they will arrest you, put you in custody, so you will be in the county jail. Okay, this is the same guy that said, I don't like intimidation. Okay, now he says to me, you see these marshals here? I asked them to come here today so that they would recognize you, because if you don't show up, they will come to the Millennium Towers and they will arrest you. Now, is that not intimidation? This is the daddy of all intimidations. A guy who's got the power to get 5 U.S. Marshals to go anywhere, as he obviously does, I wouldn't think he would need to. I certainly wouldn't defy anything, you know. So let's continue to see how this guy behaves. Your assets, and you will be out living on the street on account of the way you conducted yourself in this case, because they're going to get the money and you're not going to keep it. Now, what is he talking about? You will be out living on the street on account of the way you conducted yourself in this case, because you're not going to get the money and you're not going to keep it. Well, folks, I didn't do anything wrong at all. All I did was operate the business the same way it has been operated for 20 years before from the people that I bought it from. There's always been a volunteer house parent. The DOL called these people. I said, did you know that Frank Montero owes you $30,000, whatever? They completely manipulated the witness. And they, if you're a person that all of a sudden they say they're going to give you a big chunk of change and then you don't have any money, I don't blame these guys. So anyhow, now, what that's going to do, Mr. Montero, okay? Now, what that's going to do, Mr. Montero, is that you're going to lose everything you ever had in this business. Now, canon number 3 says clearly, a judge should perform the duties of the office fairly, impartially, and diligently. I don't know about you guys, but you make up your own mind. I'm not going to tell you. These are the judge's words. How do you think he's treating me? This is me. What you see here are the judge's exact words. Now, again, this is the guy that says, I don't like intimidation. Okay. Well, let's move forward. A judge should perform the duties of the office fairly, impartially, and diligently. Okay. Here's the judge's words next. Government should make a motion for a receivership to put this entire enterprise under the receivership and take it away from Mr. Montero so that you can run it in any way that you want it. In other words, we want to steal this from Frank Montero because there's no other thing. None of these people that they claim I owed money to, I ever made a deal with that I owed them any money. We were all happily cruising along. And they created this whole problem. So, I really don't understand. I really don't understand what's going on here. It's a situation where government should make a motion for a receivership to put this entire enterprise under receivership and take it away from this man. In other words, we want to steal this from you, Frank Montero. That's what I mean. So that they can run it the way they want it. And so they says, so here's what happens. A judge should perform the duties of the office fairly and impartially. Disqualification. At this point, okay? At this point, this judge should have disqualified himself. Here it goes. A judge shall disqualify himself. Well, let's continue. Basically here, what you have here is a person that has been disrespectful to me, inappropriate to me, offensive to me, insulting to me, and all this communication of his has no communication value. What's the communication value of all this? Has he tried to solve a problem? No. He has tried to intimidate me when I haven't done anything to anybody. All he's saying is, please steal this company from this guy. Now, I question myself, what country am I living in? Who is this guy? Well, when I went to go see the reviews online, I saw some similarities. But I'm not going to comment on that. I'm going to continue. Because what I'm doing here is just commenting on what this gentleman said. Okay. Now, one of the things that's been in question here, what the whole judgment is about, is that I supposedly owe these people bed fee, back pay for something that I never did, I never agreed to do, they never agreed to do. This is something that's made up by the Department of Labor. That the Department of Labor has twice trying to get the same very same judge to get a motion for summary judgment to agree to requalify these people as employees. The judge has not done it in either case. So he says there's not been enough evidence in either case for the Department of Labor to, in one of the cases, the judge also called it a novel idea. So he has not been able to adjudicate. This has not been adjudicated that these people are classified as employees. Meanwhile, they're trying to enforce a $2.6 million judgment that somebody made up out of thin air, which we have all the documents, everything. We are going to post everything. Everything is going to be, we are going to have a freedom of information, because this is just the beginning. I had stopped this completely. But the fact, Mr. Garcia, thank you, because I probably a few people would have been happier if you had not ticked me off, but you did. And all I requested was that I could not have to come in for this evidentiary hearing that you don't know damn well. You're just doing to annoy me and to torture me, because the court has become a torture chamber for Mr. Montero, where I am to go there. I am not to speak. I am asked to shut up by the judge. I'm asked to shut up by my attorney, and I get to be asked any question that anybody sees fit. And I've had enough. So anyhow, the court also says, because I think you were this is what the court is also saying now regarding the bed fee credits. Now they're also talking here, and then you'll see with the case number, the document, and the date. Because I think you are playing games with the court, it would be grossly unfair not to give them a credit. So in other words, I should be given a credit for all the time that these people were given to live free in our homes for all the back wage time. Okay? Then he continues, and this is the judge speaking. Okay? And here it is. But if you do win this case, this is before anything was said, but if you do win this case, they ought to get a credit for the way in which they have compensated through free rent. And it may turn out that they have been fully compensated. In other words, this judge is saying right here, but if you do win this case to the Department of Labor, they ought to get a credit for the way in which they have compensated through free rent. And it may turn out that they have been fully compensated. In other words, it may turn out that I don't know a dime. I think you would have to do it on a one-by-one basis, he says. You would have to figure out, you would have to go back and figure out how much people actually worked. How much this is, it will be a nightmare to get to it. Well, we know to do it. It's a nightmare to do this. It's a nightmare to be Frank Montero and have the United States government force him into personal Chapter 7 bankruptcy, where my pride and joy has always been my credit. My credit was 794 or something in that range. and it's in the low 6s now because of Norman Garcia, because of Charles Song, because of Ms. Casimir, because these trial lawyers, with their ill will, they have just wanted to get me for something. And I have not done anything to anybody, and I have really put the United States government, I haven't done it, they have a huge liability with me, because they've destroyed my credit, they destroyed my company, they're trying to run it, and obviously they can't. All the landlords are TO'd because they don't get their money on time like they always did when I was running the company, and it's a nightmare. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we have all this documentation of what the court says, what the gentleman says, and we will provide it for all of you, and this is for all the residents, all the house managers, all the staff, and everybody to see. And this is my freedom of speech. I don't believe you can get a gag order on this. I mean, one of the things, the judge must, he must expect it to be the subject of constant public scrutiny. And, this is part of in the introduction of the interpretation of some of the canons. And the judges, the impartiality is something so they should win, and, excuse me. So, and one of the parts there, he says, was brought up to me when he says, I don't know where it was, but, we're talking about Frank Montero. This is not the kind of guy that I would have running this company. I'm asking everybody, is this the kind of judge you want sitting on the bench that contradicts himself, that is not impartial, that is clearly biased? I don't think so. The judge says, and one of the canons is that the judge, he should expect to be criticized. He should expect to get these things. It's part of the job. Okay? The expectation is there that somebody is going to be skeptical about what they're doing, and So anyhow, this is it. And now I'm being asked to show up tomorrow to come up with ways that I may have money so that I can pay for a company that I own and I don't owe anything on, and they stole from me. So I'm just thinking in a parking lot, maybe I should just... So, based on all the evidence, it's clear to see that the judgment is worthless. That's not a real judgment. That's a made-up judgment that was made up with false data, and from a judge that should have completely disqualified himself from making any decisions on this case. What that tells me is there's no validity whatsoever to the judgment. There's no validity whatsoever to anything. Therefore, there's no validity to the need for me to be there tomorrow. What I'm saying is that the information that has been given to the bankruptcy courts is false, it's ill-gotten, and it should not be used under any circumstances for anything, because it's information that has been generated by a judge who is clearly impaired, clearly not impartial, and clearly biased. Therefore, I don't believe it's a violation, with all due respect, for me to ask to be excused from this tomorrow, from Mr. Garcia, which he himself was read very astutely by the court and by Judge Blumenthal. Told him very, very quickly and very succinctly what she thought of him, and how greedy he was, and how he was trying to actually be destructive with his what he wanted to do. He wanted to grind me down to powder. Those were the judge's words. So, with all due respect, I would like to request that I be excused. I need to prepare a document with the best of intentions so that I can proceed to get the company that I am entitled to have. So, and one of the parts there he says, I don't know where it was, but we're talking about Frank Montero. This is not the kind of guy that I would have running this company. I'm asking everybody, is this the kind of judge you want sitting on the bench that contradicts himself, that is not impartial, that is clearly biased? I don't think so. Thank you. Frank Montero. October 18th, 2018. Everything I have said here is true to the best of my knowledge, as if I were under oath. And everything, of course, all the documents are legitimate, and everything is as I have presented them, truthfully. Thank you. And quick afterthought, I just want to make a comment because of the torture that Mr. Garcia has put me through. I mean, he has just been willfully saying lies about me, saying I've been using. He's just grasping at any little thing to try to find me doing something wrong. One time he said the day that I was supposed to be in court, I was shopping because here's a check. Well, that was a check that the Brooks Brothers writes to itself on a credit card payment. Another time he said, "Okay, look what's going on with this balance sheet. How it's changed $200,000. Well, it was a balance sheet taken on the end of the fiscal year on the 28th when there was $200,000 in receivables from the merchant account. He just doesn't know what he's doing. Another time, I mean, this is one thing after the other. If you listen to how he described me, he doesn't know me personally. It's like a totally different person than all the people that have done business with me for a long period of time. But the guy is absolutely. He hasn't been, just trying to get information. He has been trying to crush me. Another thing is saying that I was buying all these luxury cars from, using the company as a piggy bank. Well, I bought 2 cars that I needed to do to start a little business because I was afraid of what the Department of Labor was doing. And there's star witness. When I bought the company, I had 2 Porsche Turbos, $200,000 that I had at the time, which he rode around with me plenty of times in. So it's really interesting how one thing for sure, the judge Blumenthal very smartly just immediately picked on him, and this is how just a quick excerpt of how she read him.
Mr. Garcia, I gotta tell you, these are some of the most overreaching, vague, overbroad discovery requests that I have ever seen. And I have very, very simple requirements in my courtroom when it comes to discovery. Don't be greedy and don't be stingy. This is greedy and seems aimed, quite frankly, sir, at grinding this man to powder. And so you're not going to get most of what you're asking for here because, first of all, this is a Chapter 7 case. Investigation of Mr. Montero's assets is to be done by a Chapter 7 trustee, not by an individual creditor. You are entitled to conduct discovery, but not like this. So let's go through them one by one, all 30 of them. First of all, what's the significance of 2014? Why do the requests, generally speaking, request documents over the period of 2014 to the present?
Your Honor, there was a marital settlement agreement and there were assets.
Anyhow, she read him pretty quickly, and I really appreciate the fact that I finally feel like, even though everything didn't go exactly how I wanted it that day, but I felt like, an even-handed, fair person
was taking the reins of the situation, which I never felt with Judge Alsup. It was clearly biased. It clearly not impartial. It was not even-handed. And anyhow, so this is it, and I just want to make sure that I want to go on record for all this, because I have suffered a lot, and I believe the U.S. government via the DOL owes me a lot, and I really would like to be made whole. Thank you.